What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Drew Hoover, and today is another day of draft grades, and we're going to talk about the NFC East. First, if you haven't subscribed to Average Joe Sports Network, please go ahead and subscribe. Also, if you have any graphic design needs, please go to Anthony Garcia. He is the man. He's the one that went up with my logo and my brand. His website is in the description below, www.anthonygarciadesign.com. Now let's get right into it, and I'm going to start with the Dallas Cowboys, and I give them a B- for their efforts. And this may be a little bit of a shock. Maybe some experts have had them high. First of all, let's talk about Micah Parsons. And when I look at him, I mean, I feel like the best suit for him, and this might be my own opinion, is to use him kind of the way that the Denver Broncos used Von Miller when he came out of Texas A&M. They still had that 4-3 defense, but they put 5 on the line, shifted that entire defensive line to make room for Von Miller off the side. I feel like that's the way it makes sense to me, because when you look at the way they drafted later on, the other defensive end they got, Chancey Goldston from Iowa, I don't know if he can be the starter. He could still end up being in the starting lineup. I just don't know if he can make that impact off the edge like Micah Parsons does. Like I said, the ideal thing under Dan Quinn would be if Micah Parsons is on the line, whether his hands on the ground or in the 2-point stance. I'm trying to see if there's any other names I can remember for the Dallas Cowboys. Kelvin Joseph, the cornerback from Kentucky, they definitely needed that. When you talk about the departure of cornerbacks like Byron Jones, they definitely needed something on that back end right there. I mentioned Goldston, Cabril Cox, the linebacker from LSU. Again, another reason why I think it would be best for Micah Parsons. He is definitely good at linebacker from going from sideline to sideline and in space. But even Micah Parsons admits that he prefers to be a pass rusher. So if you put Micah Parsons on the line and maybe fit Jabril Cox in the rotation at the linebacker position, then I think it would be fine. But until then, I give him a B-. I would like to give him a grade higher than that. Next, I'm going to do the New York Giants, and I'm going to give them a B for their efforts. Sorry, I had to look. I have a bunch of notes right here. But anyway, I give the Giants a B. I think they really wanted to get Devontae Smith, like I said in my mock draft, but the Eagles traded up ahead of the Giants to get him. So they end up trading back, end up getting Kadarius Toney. I've told you guys this before, with all the injuries that they have, well, not the injuries they have, but the wide receivers that have injury history on their roster, they definitely needed depth, especially in Jason Garrett's West Coast offense. So they got the next guy on the list, which was Kadarius Toney, and I really wanted to give Azeez Ojulari in the first round, and what do you know? They still end up getting him in the second round. A guy that can, again, just long, physical arms, a guy that had 8 sacks and 4 forced fumbles last year. I've told you that they've been, lacking an edge rusher, like, JPP, like Justin Tucker, and all the names I've mentioned they've had in the past. And he just, like I said, with those big arms, he looks like a typical New York Giant edge rusher that they used to have in the past, and now they brought that back in there. Also, some notable picks. Aaron Robinson, the cornerback from UCF. A lot of people say he'll be used in the nickel, considering that they already have good corners like James Bradbury. And then Ellison G. Smith, the defensive end from Northern Iowa. And now we're going to talk about the Washington football team, and for their efforts, I gave them a B. And starting with the Jamin Davis, linebacker from Kentucky, man, they already had a strong defensive line, and yeah, they added more to that defense, getting this excellent linebacker, a guy that can navigate himself to the ball carrier, run from sideline to sideline, good zone cover guy, and they just made that defense a lot better. They got an offensive tackle to give protection to Ryan Fitzpatrick, Samuel Cosmi, the tackle from Texas. Also notable picks, Benjamin St.Juste, the cornerback from Minnesota. So with the Washington football team, I don't know if they're going to be competitive. They did win the division last year, but you talk about you have Dak Prescott back, and the Giants keep getting better. Philadelphia Eagles are under a new regime, but they're still fresh off that Super Bowl win, so we'll see what happens there. And speaking of the Eagles, that's where we're going to end off this segment with the Philadelphia Eagles there. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, I also gave them a B. B is all around, well, except for Cowboys. I almost gave them a B. But anyway, so for the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously the trade up to get Devontae Smith, you kind of saw this happening with Nick Sirianni, who has a background of being a wide receiver coach. He gets a guy that won the Heisman, broke all these SEC Alabama records. You team him up with Jalen Reagor. Talk about all the wide receivers that had to step up last year, like Travis Furlong and Greg Ward. We don't know what's going to happen with Zach Ertz. I heard they were trying to trade him leading up to the draft, so we don't know if he'll be in the starting lineup or not. But you still have Miles Sanders in the backfield, and you got some more protection on the front line too. You got Landon Dickerson from Alabama, a guy that can play at every line, but most likely he'll be put somewhere in the center, either a guard or a center. And so I think that the Eagles at least got some support around Jalen Hurts. I would like them to, in the future, get more defensive players. And I keep mentioning linebackers. Maybe it's because what I mentioned about the spread concepts. With more spread offenses means more corners, which means less linebackers, which means as long as you have one good linebacker in the middle, maybe that's all you need. But anyway, I think they really need to address the linebacker position. They do have TJ Edwards, a former linebacker from Wisconsin Badgers. So hopefully they'll get that defense addressed in the future. And so when I look at the NFC East right here, what's going to happen? This was a division that really just... People thought that we would have had a 6-10 or a 5-11 team win the division. But thankfully, as the season went on, a lot of these teams stepped up, like the Washington football team, like the New York Giants. But when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, man, you still got all those offensive weapons right there. You talk about, like I said, getting Dak Prescott back. I don't know if they'll get Ezekiel Elliott more involved, but I think they should. But they did see that the defensive side was something they needed to address. Again, under Dan Quinn, they got him a bunch of defensive players to keep it up. And so, when you have one of the worst defenses, there's only one way to go up. So I would say Dallas Cowboys, considering what they went through with Dak Prescott and his injury, and like I said, all the defensive support they put him, I think the Dallas Cowboys are my favorite right there. I would keep an eye on the New York Giants, however. When you talk about the receivers that did stack up, like I said, I'm really skeptical if these wide receivers can stay healthy. But if they can, Kenny Golladay is a good wide receiver. John Ross is a good slot receiver. You talk about drafting Kadarius Toney. You got Evan Ingram, a tall tight end, and then you're gonna get Saquon Barkley back, and so. We'll see how that offense takes over, because that defense carried it. If that offense can step up under Jason Garrett, I think the Dallas Cowboys may have some competition right there, but nonetheless, I think Dallas Cowboys will end up winning it in the end. And this has been Draft Grades right here. Please stay tuned for more as they become available. Have a good day, everybody.